Hello everyone, in this video I'll show you how to get the author medal, champion medal, and maybe even world record on the summer 2023 track 06. In this video I'm gonna go in-depth analysis of the current world record on the track. I'll kinda explain what are the main things that he does, and why does he do it in a specific case as well, so you have a better understanding of Trackmania mechanics as a whole. So summer 2023 06 is the very first green map that we have in this series, and also this is the only map that has an ice slide in it. This campaign basically was released at the same time as ice physics changes, and I felt like that was one of the main reasons when Dio played a bit of a safe cards and only included just one ice slide in it, because there's a lot of ice in this campaign, but all of it's like bobsleigh like, or very straightforward ones, similar as 04 has. So yeah, this is gonna be our only ice slides that we'll do in the whole campaign. In this video, I will also give an explanation on why ice slides do work in the first place, like why they're a mechanic that you actually have to do, instead of like, okay, I saw this guy doing it, he goes sideways, okay, it works somehow. So I'll give a better insight so you have an understanding on why ice slides work, so you have a better idea of where it could be the most efficient to use it, and everything like that. Alright, outside of the map, it also has a bit of plastic, a bit of dirt, a bit of grass, so all of the slidey surfaces, as I call them. I mean, ice as well as a slidey surface, but it has completely different properties, but so that's why I use the term slidey surfaces for plastic, dirt, and grass. Basically don't have full grip, so that's why I call them slidey. Alright, so outside of that, we have the world record replay here by Zypher. Zypher is a very unique player because he's a French-speaking Portuguese player. I remember him playing in a bunch of these French clans like a while back already, and nowadays also he plays in a French clan called Void. He always hangs around with a bunch of the French scene and everything like that, also with a bit of the Portuguese scene, and most of the time plays in like these tech or mixed team events. So very awesome to see him having a world record on the campaign. As previously you've heard, always world records are held by people who just play campaign maps. So seeing a person who usually plays in third-party events most of the time, or plays those as the main thing, and having a world record on campaign is, let's just say that's not that common, because most people just don't want to spend their time on campaign who play these third-party stuff. So anyway, that's going to be a small player introduction. Let's start with the start of the map. So we are actually starting on very plastic. So one thing to mention, that on plastic, dirt, or grass, whenever you start off, you don't want to full steer when starting off, because that will cause an immediately slowdown. So what you want to do early on is already have a partial steer when you start off. One thing I would suggest, if you play on keyboard, you jump immediately, press like action key 1 or 2 early on, so you have a bit more grip. So why does that is the case? Why it slows you down? As mentioned, grass, dirt, plastic are slidey surfaces. If you apply full steer early on, it will cause a slowdown due to the skid marks being separated already. Since you want to, especially at low speeds, you want to have full grip, so it gives the best acceleration, especially early on, outside of having some minor SDs going. So you want to have the car be perfectly parallel between the front wheel and the back wheel, and that will be the main thing that will resolve on the best performance. So that's why early on he does a partial steer. This map is actually symmetric, so he goes for the right side. I feel like as soon as the world record takes a specific line, immediately everyone takes the same line. I personally haven't seen anyone go to the opposite side personally. Yeah, anyway, so he picks the right side. He does a partial steer to resolve a full grip early on, and he just tries to keep it straight. Here is a very specific type of no slide. So he does around gear 3 right here. So as soon as he goes into gear 3, he starts to separate the skid marks tiny bits. It's very hard to see on plastic because you can't really see the skid marks, but he actually has the skid marks be separated. Right here you actually can see the small gap right here, because on low speeds, on grass, dirt, or plastic, it gives a bit more grip and increases acceleration if you do these minor skid mark gaps at these low speeds. So he just takes a naturally as straight line as possible, so he's as straight as he can, only starting gear 3, does a bit of separation. But this is also not only for that, since there's a downhill. So in downhills, obviously, with a bit more acceleration. Obviously, if you roll down the hill, you're gonna go faster and faster. But there's a very unique thing that he does. So while going on the downhill right here, it actually forces the revs jump up way faster than normally, and since he has a grip, sideways grip going on as well, it actually causes the car to gear up a tiny bit faster. And in Trackmania, every single gear has a bit different acceleration. In gear 1 you have this, for example, one type of acceleration. Gear 2, you have a different one. Gear 3, you have a different one. And in Gear 4, your car is way faster than in Gear 3. And that's the why when you see people saying, oh, I got the upper gear, that means they got into upper gear. So it gives them a bit more room where they can use this a bit faster type of acceleration in a specific part. So that's why one of the main goals for this part with the lines that he takes is to gear up as fast as he can so he can get the faster type of acceleration going on faster. I remember there was a virtual video where he said that there are specific speeds when gear changes happen. Actually not. It's false. There are no fixed speed values where gear changes can happen. There are approximate ones, but normally you have to actually listen to revs and everything like that. So to summarize a bit starts, he does his partial steer to have 100% grip. He tries to make sure that the car is perfectly parallel when the gear change does happen. Tries to do a small separation to force the revs a bit higher, because when you have a small gap, it allows the car to rev a bit faster, to jump with the higher gears to get faster acceleration naturally. Here, since he's already in gear 4, he does a small SD. This is a very unique situation. So if you remember on map 03, so if you do wiggles, it actually causes, there's like a small peaks a bit in terms of acceleration like this. So since he goes on an uphill right here, it's actually better to do wiggles because it allows the car to force up into gear 5 way faster than if you would hold a skid mark. So that's one of the reasons, because as mentioned before, the higher the rev, the better acceleration you will have. And this is the reasons why he does it. So he keeps a skid mark to build up more and more speed, and at the uphill when the revs are about to skid mark, he does a bit of wiggle, and then it allows him to gear up before the turn right here. So then he can execute a proper SD right here. So that's one of the main reasons like that. Basically, to a bit of summary, full grip here, keeping skid marks here, using the momentum here, wiggle to force the revs a bit higher, get build up with these peak speeds, like these early peak speeds, into gear 5, then use the skid marks a bit to build up to the SDs, because with on grass, you can start to speed sliding tiny bit faster than on normal roads. So it's even around 300 speed. Here just goes for a fully inside line. I'll usually aim for lines like this. I highly recommend looking at the front wheel right here and trying to aim it around here. Not on in the checkpoint, but to the side. So usually I personally aim at this white part. Looks like the world record does the same. Then immediately, usually the way how eye gaze works at these specific parts is looks here and then immediately looks right here to see the skid mark gap is sufficient. One thing here, if you don't take the inside enough line, so one of the reasons why he tries to go a bit more aggressive to the left, since you want to keep the full grip while taking the uphill like this, it's actually very easy to get airtime and fly off right here. So he goes a bit to the left and then readjusts himself. He actually gets a very interesting line where he goes basically fully straight, which is a very unique approach actually. Yeah, he doesn't press anything, which is kind of crazy. So he basically takes this diagonally, so he slowly goes up the hill to prevent a jump. And then this part is gonna be the most important one setup wise. He goes for the outside, insides, and then immediately jumps into a nice slide. Alright, so in this part, to make the best amount of sense, since you basically just accelerate and steer, I highly advise to use these visual cues. So right here, you go fully to the outside. This will basically put yourself up for the best approach, so you're always as much as you can be on the road. So go fully for the outsides, inside, and as soon as you see the wheels touching the penalty grass, you immediately press to the right. And as soon as you get back to the checkpoint, you press to the left. If you use these setups, you will always have the best momentum kind of thing. So it's like go to the outside, press left. As soon as you reach penalty grass, press right. And as soon as you reach the checkpoint, press left. I'm trying to develop these kind of, let's just say, visual cues that will really help you to simplify the process going through this part especially. But what does that happen? Basically, that will set you up for the best optimal line through this part, because you want to reduce the travel distance right here, and that basically sets you up for that, because you want to use the road as much as you can, and like here, just cut through the grass as early as you can. And here, there's a very unique thing in Trackmania. When there's a surface change that happens, if you steer on the previous surface, it will actually tiny bit accelerate the rotational transition on the next surface. So that will allow the rotation of the car to go sideways way faster and way more efficient on this part, because a lot of people just start steering way too late and they just go fully somewhere up there, for example, or they don't take that of an inside of a line. All right, so here comes the ice slide. So Ice slides, as you see, are a bit weird. Like, why on earth would going sideways be faster? If you look at here, we actually have two speedometers. We have the forwards velocity and sideways velocity. If you remember on the very first episode on 01, where we talked about that sideways acceleration is a thing, this is one of the main places where it's showcasing that. So how can you see this? So when your forwards acceleration, right, it will take it if the wheels are like this. Okay, sideways acceleration counts if the wheels are like pointing like this, so it's like fully to the side, and that's why it generally gives acceleration when you're fully sideways. And it's actually one of the main reasons why if you're sideways like this, it will be the most efficient kind of setup you want to aim for when you're doing an ice slide, because that will give you the best acceleration for ice slides. And this sideways acceleration is also the main reason why bug slides work in the game as well. So basically in this sport, we want to use this early steer to allow the car to rotate a bit faster, and we try to counter steer when we're approximately, I would say, around like this kind of angle. Let's see, where's the point? So yeah, approximately this kind of angle, because the car will bit a bit with the back end, will slide a bit forwards like this, and this is basically done so the car slides in the perfect, best, efficient position while you want to take the ice turn during that specific moment. So basically right here, there's a fully counter steer early on, so that allows the car to slide a bit faster sideways. And immediately when, let's just say as I say, clock is looking at number 4, then you immediately start steering to the left, and that will give the best slide. And it will basically give the best momentum. Yes, you are losing a bit momentum, but since the finish is right there, it's actually the most efficient line. Actually, if we go to a top-down point of view, right from here, we can see that it always takes as a close of a line from the outsides to here, like perfectly straight, basically, from this point on. And here, he basically takes as much of an inside-outside line like this. If you remember the outside-inside-outside line principle, so he goes outside, inside, outside. So that's going to be the line that he will take with the ice turn. So he uses the sideways acceleration, but takes a line like that, because that's the most efficient thing how you can predict on the turns. If you have a better understanding of how usually lines work in Trackmania, like that gives a very good idea of what usually people want to aim for. Alright, to summarize, a partial steering early on to give 100% grip, tries to bit of a full grip on the downward to force the revs a bit higher, avoid steering when a gear change happens, do a minor skid mark right here to speed up the process, do wiggles to force the gear a bit higher, then keeps the skid marks as close as you can while aiming here for the middle part, while doing an ST position right here, going a bit more slowly upwards the hill so you can keep the full grip while taking the uphill. Here, going for the outside, start steering around the checkpoint, immediately steering to the right when you touch the penalty grass. Early on, steering as soon as you cross the checkpoint to the left. Here, as soon as the car looks at number 4, imagine like a clock looks at 4, you press the counter steer and just hold those 2 buttons into the finish. And that will be for the Summer 2023 track 06. Hope you find this quite informative. If you have any other questions, make sure to ask them in the comments below. Anyway, that's gonna be it for me today. Thank you all for watching and see you later. Bye bye.